What's up, YouTube? Here I am. I'm here. Yes, a little bit late. Sorry about that. I tell you what, man, you guys are on top of it. Like every single time that I am a couple minutes late, I will go check Twitter one last time before I actually hop on, and I always see that there's somebody with like a GIF of like, "Hey, we're waiting. What's up?" And speaking of that, I just realized I didn't send my little teaser tweet out here, so give me 1 second. But I just want you guys to know I am coming at you during a Chiefs Bucks game. I have not watched a single second of it because I was driving back. Listen, I'm in the cult of CrossFit. I did a CrossFit competition today, 2 hours away. So I had to drive 4 hours round trip. I was doing that all day. I got back just in time to be able to do this and put this together for you. So I'm exhausted. There's a Chiefs game going on right now, but I care about you guys enough and I care about Big 12 football enough that I'm here, damn it. I'm here and we're ready to do this thing. So give me 1 second. YouTube live time. You know what? I won't even bother with a tease. Because I know I need to get this rolling. All right. I won't even bother with a tease on the tweet. People can either come or they can't, whatever works. But we've got a lot to talk about, folks. We've got a lot to talk about. Not only a crazy weekend in Big 12 football in terms of what happened on the field. Shout out to TCU for what they did to the Oklahoma Sooners. Shout out to, the Texas Longhorns in a spot that I didn't really anticipate them doing that. Absolutely manhandling West Virginia. Shout out to my K-State Wildcats taking care of Texas Tech. Pretty valiant effort, though, from the Red Raiders. Oh, yeah. By the way, Oklahoma State. Cowboy fans, I'm sorry. That was definitely a slight on accident from me there. Oklahoma State deserves a ton of praise for the game that they played in Waco, jumping out 23-3, running back the opening kickoff of the second half, taking a lot of punches from Baylor in a crazy, crazy third quarter of Big 12 football. And now Oklahoma State looks like they've kind of established themselves as the Big 12 favorite. They are to me. They are to me. And TCU, I understand how you would sit here and say, hey, we're unbeaten. We got a quarterback that's rolling, and we just gobsmacked Oklahoma. I understand. You belong in the conversation. But Oklahoma State, to me, based on what they did last year, based on track record, based on Gundy and everything he's built there, they get my vote right now. Really impressive win in Waco. So lots of interesting things happening on the field, but that's obviously not the tease that you see in the video coming in here. That's because we got some off the field stuff to talk about. Now, things are hot at Kansas, where they won one of the ugliest football games you'll ever see, 14-11 over Iowa State, which I don't really think is a bad thing, by the way. I don't say that as a slight to Kansas, because I think the fact that they won a game where their defense played well and won a game when Jalen Daniels was not just running all over everybody and throwing all over everybody, I think there are positives in that for Kansas. But it was a very ugly game. Tough to watch. And now Kansas gets to host College Game Day. They're 5-0. They're ranked number 19, number 17 in the two polls. And they've earned all of that. I will give them that. Like they have earned all of that. But now there's going to be some worry in Lawrence, in a place that's already fundraising big time for a new stadium and needs a lot of money there. The porta potty jokes are coming, guys. I mean, I always remind you about that. They got porta potties on site at the stadium. They need desperately renovations to the stadium. They're also going to need a lot more money for their football coach here pretty soon, because either they're going to lose him or they're going to have to pony up. Not only is the Nebraska job open, where there's a lot of rumor about Nebraska being interested there. Bruce Feldman reported that Leipold was one of the top 3 candidates. He, of course, was an assistant coach there from 2001 to 2003. But now the Wisconsin job is open. And that had been another one people had always said, watch out for that, because Leipold is from Wisconsin. He was at Wisconsin Whitewater, where he won, 6 national titles, I believe, in his time there at a lower level. So now there's going to be a lot of speculation about that. Wild, by the way, too, that Wisconsin already fired Paul Chryst at this point in the season, and a guy who had a really decorated resume in his career with them. So there's a lot to unpack there with that. But it is very funny. Again, we hear all the time about how crappy the Big 12 is from the SEC and the Big 10. And yet whenever there's a coach opening, whenever there's a job open in one of those conferences, they come and the list is just flooded with Big 12 coaches. I saw another one today about Wisconsin, and it did have Leipold. But guess who else? It was Dave Aranda, Matt Campbell, Lance Leipold. Those are the top 3 names on the coaching search list for Wisconsin as soon as it popped up, man. So whenever somebody needs a great coach, whenever somebody in a major conference needs to fill their vacancy, they come to the Big 12. Yet the Big 12 sucks, right? So much inconsistency in how those narratives work out. All right. But hey, I guess that's just a Kermit sipping tea moment for all of us here. So that's what we're going to talk about tonight. We'll see. We'll see how much you guys want to drive this conversation toward that. How much you want to drive this conversation toward head coach speculation. I'm probably not quite as prepped and prepared as I typically would be for a show here tonight. So if you want to get off the rails, you want to take it wherever you want to, we can certainly do that. The way to do that is to donate, like my man Zach did. I'll get to your question here in just a minute. Question or comment, Zach. But to be like Zach and make sure that you get in tonight and get your voice heard, you can click the $sign below the chat box where it says say something. That is how you donate and get your question or comment here on the show. We'll pin it up at the top and cut through all the other noise in the chat. We're already at about 150 people in here, so it's going to be hard. I really don't read much because I just simply can't unless you do donate. So that's how you make your voice heard on the chat tonight. And it also is a way to support the work that I'm doing here on this channel and bringing you Big 12 conversation each and every week. Also, like the video, please. If you can like the video, that helps me out as well. Very easy thing to do, and it is a very free thing to do. Clicking like helps me out with the YouTube algorithm. I would really appreciate it if you guys do that. And if you are watching this after the fact, if you're watching this taped, it's John-Kurtz-4 on Venmo. If you'd like to donate and support the channel as well. Been seeing a handful of you guys doing that, and I truly do appreciate it. Everybody who helps support the channel and what I'm doing here and bringing you Big 12 content on a weekly basis. All right. Zach, what's up, Zach? Zach, my Cincinnati guy. Zach says, where were you when the Cincinnati Bearcats beat the cheating criminals at Tulsa? I can't wait until we leave the trashy AAC and join you in Big 12 paradise. Well, Zach, we can't wait to have you, my friend. We can't wait to have you. I did not catch any Cincinnati. I'm about to go look here at the good old American scoreboard from this past weekend. I did see Tulane. Shout out to Tulane. Quality loss, baby. I did see Tulane beat Houston with a third-string quarterback in overtime. Sorry to Houston fans. I know it's been a rough year. I'm just trying to make myself feel better about K-State's loss. Yeah, Cincinnati wins 31-21 at Tulsa. Not sure about the cheaters comment there. I don't what's going down with Tulsa, Zach. What's going down with Tulsa? How are they cheating? How are they cheating? I'm very curious about that. Robbie, what's up, Robbie? Robbie, I think speaks to what most Big 12 fans are feeling right now. OU and UT not ranked is like Christmas morning. Indeed, it is. You know who else is not ranked? Texas A&M, Colorado, Nebraska, Missouri. If you're into the is it Schadenfreude, right? I always forget exactly how to pronounce it. Taking joy in others' pain, and those who have left and been traitorous to the Big 12, those who have sinned against us, they are in deep holes right now. Texas A&M not ranked, freaking out about all. They owe Jimbo Fisher $80+ million right now, and he continues to underachieve. He's on kind of like the Matt Campbell track there, but at Texas A&M, and getting paid like crazy for it. So Texas A&M fans not happy at all. Colorado literally just fired their coach today. They're probably the worst Power 5 team in college football. Nebraska's already fired their coach. They are one of the worst Power 5 teams in college football, mired in a stretch that has seen them not even make a bowl game since 2016. Who else am I missing here? Mizzou, total disaster this year. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, they almost beat the number one team in the country, except they don't. And now the beat goes on, and they will roll through another very bad SEC season. Texas and Oklahoma. Texas already has a couple of losses. Texas lost to Texas Tech, got the field stormed on them. Well, they did play well on Saturday. Now they go into a Red River game where neither Texas nor Oklahoma are ranked. College game day is going to Lawrence instead of that game. And Oklahoma, my God, Oklahoma, what the hell is going on there? What is happening? So yes, and Robbie, if you think I don't have some words for Oklahoma fans who just littered this channel and my Twitter mentions throughout the offseason for me to have the audacity, all because I had the audacity to say that, hey, maybe going from Lincoln Riley to Brent Venables, first-time head coach, and from Caleb Williams to Dylan Gabriel is a bit of a downgrade and might set you back this year. I mean, the audacity of me to even bring that thought up to these Oklahoma fans. And you know what? Pretty GD quiet right now on the Oklahoma fan front. I'm not seeing a lot of them in my mentions. It's funny how that works because the Sooners have a lot of problems, and it was clear as day to anybody with a freaking brain in the offseason that would likely be the case. So, welcome to paradise, Sooners. Welcome to paradise. Thank you for that, Robbie. Calico Willie, what's up, Calico Willie? He says, hey, John, Cats are giving me gray hair, but 2-0 in the Big 12. You are correct about that, Calico Willie. They gave me some gray hair, too. I was, just in the other room over there in my apartment, very angry. There were a couple of meltdowns. There were a couple of meltdowns from me during the Texas Tech game when it was 20-20 and Tech had gotten back into it. K-State not stepping on anybody's throat when they probably should have early on in that game. I was pretty upset. But hey, once they started running the quarterback again, it was all fine. And that's really the thing right now. It feels like Adrian Martinez is almost on sort of a pitch count with how much they want to run him. But when they do, man, he is so good. He's so good. And he just killed Tech. I mean, I was screaming for them to run the ball again. They did, and he busts off like a 60-yard touchdown run there in the fourth quarter to help put the game away. I mean, he is so damn good running the ball and is playing at a really high level the last 2 weeks. He now has better Heisman odds, by the way, than Jalen Daniels does, which tells you something about how Adrian Martinez has played the last couple of weeks for the Cats. So, yes, Calico Willie, shout out to our Cats. Nice weekend, nice game against a Tech team that is much better, undoubtedly much better. In particular, I know you'll look at the 37 points in case they did rush for almost 350 yards, but Tech's defense for a lot of that game played really well, and they disrupted K-State absolutely. And a lot of it was coaching. Chris Kleiman said after the game it was different blitzes and stunts that Tech was throwing out there that gave K-State a lot of fits in the middle part of that game. So you got to give Tim DeRuyter, along with Joey McGuire, a lot of credit what they're doing right now at Texas Tech. Matt, what's up, Matt? Need to have an honest discussion about Houston. Their fans are not ready for the Big 12. I understand it's a commuter school, but their attendance is bad. Well, look, I don't mean to pile on here. I know it's already been a rough season for Houston that started with sky-high expectations this year. A lot of people viewing them as the AAC favorite. I mean, I had bought in on that too, and it just looks like it's coming undone right now for Houston. Not looking good. Losing to a third-string quarterback in Tulane on Friday. That was back on Friday. And yeah, the attendance was not good. Houston, I still feel like has a ton of potential because of where they are located, proximity to talent. We've seen Tom Herman do it and really win a lot of games there. I mean, shoot, all you have to do is look back at last year. And Dana Holgerson put together, a 12-2 season last year for Houston. So, I mean, it obviously can be done, but this is not a great look. And I have kind of wondered about Dana, long term, how well that's really going to work out. I will admit I'm not close enough to the situation at Houston. I've not, gone through Houston all 22 film the entire year this year to truly know the issues, how serious it is, how fixable it is, and what the long term prognosis is going to be here. But yeah, I do feel like at least I can speak to Houston being ready for a week in, week out Big 12 schedule. It does feel like it's going to take them some time to get up to speed on that front, because even last year, they lose that game to Texas Tech early on, and that was a fairly average Texas Tech team last season. I mean, a season in which their coach got fired. They lost that game. Then they ripped through the AAC, but it's not exactly a great sign when the one Big 12 team you played was not a great one. You lost it, then ripped through the AAC, and then you come back around this year and have lost to Kansas, Texas Tech, a couple of Big 12 teams that certainly are good to decent to good. Both of those teams this year, but losing both of those games, barely taking care of Rice, now losing that game to Tulane, it does not look great. And I think the attendance part, I mean, that's going to be a tough thing to get to come around. I still would say, Matt, the Big 12 did the right thing in taking the four best school. I still think Houston was one of the four best options out there because of their potential. But right now it is about the P word. It's a lot of potential. They've stepped up financially with what we found out about in the offseason to really try and make a commitment to football, but they're going to have to follow through on that. And yeah, Houston, I think, is further away than we thought to being totally day one ready to go in the Big 12. I do think that's fair, and we can definitely have that discussion. We definitely can. What's up, Nick? Nick, my man, thank you for the donation. Extremely generous of you. Really appreciate it. Nick says, pumped about Oklahoma State's win in Waco, but now we still have at TCU, at K-State, at Oklahoma, at KU left. Wow. I did not realize that was Oklahoma State's road schedule, or more like I realized that it was because in the offseason I went through all this stuff. But at the time, if you're looking at that in the offseason and you're seeing, all right, at TCU, at K-State, at OU, all right, at K-State, at OU, that seems pretty tough. But at KU, at TCU, that didn't really feel that tough. Well, now, look, those two are playing a game on Saturday where College Game Day is going to be there, and both of them are ranked. So, yeah, Nick, that is going to be tricky. But I will just say this, man. I mean, Oklahoma State looks tough as nails right now. Pretty unflappable. Coming out, obviously, of the gate hot against Baylor, but then took some really big punches. I mean, Shapen, to his credit, did really buck up and make some nice throws to get his team back into the game. But Oklahoma State, just a complete team, right? I mean, Spencer Sanders, I still think is getting better, and I think he's better than what we remember the Spencer Sanders at the beginning of his career being. It was not like a banner day for him, but he was not turning the ball over all the time. But it was more to me about like Oklahoma State as a complete team. Their defense stepped up and really made some plays, and special teams. I mean, that kickoff return touchdown to start the second half, that might really be the play of the game right there. To just recapture all the momentum right away, put Baylor way behind the 8 ball once again, and just too far behind the 8 ball to make up and come back from the rest of the game. So I'm with you. I kind of got sidetracked on your comment about the road schedule there. I didn't see. You said, what do you think of our chances of getting through that schedule with only one loss? I think decent, because I mean, like, what does the Oklahoma game look like right now? Are you scared of Oklahoma? Now, I know that's going to be much later on, but Oklahoma is not exactly real scary right now. That's not really a massive threat. Oklahoma State looks like a much better team. I think Kansas will come back down to earth to an extent. I still think they're probably like a 7 or an 8 win team. But that's winnable. That's winnable for Oklahoma State at home. You'll have to earn it for sure, but that's winnable. TCU is going to be tough. I think K-State will be pretty tough. Although it just feels to me like, I know Chris Kleiman has not had success against Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State has absolutely had Kleiman's number. Gundy has. So, I mean, I can just remember some really, really rough games. Certainly the 2 games that have been in Stillwater for Kleiman, and then sandwiched in between there in 2020, just a devastating loss with a fumble run all the way back that Will Howard coughed up. So I don't feel great about that K-State's chances in that game, even as well as the Cats are playing right now. So I think it's definitely possible. Definitely possible, Nick. I think so. A lot of respect for Oklahoma State. And again, a part of the reason that I tip my cap to them right now and give them the nod as Big 12 favorite is because of just what they've done historically. Obviously, not only last year, but just been such a rock solid program under Gundy. And they just kind of keep humming. And it's like fairly low profile too. I mean, this year, the story in the league right now, I guess it's like it's Kansas and Kansas winning the way they are, and Oklahoma losing the way that they are. Like, those are the real stories in the league that are taking up a lot of ink, a lot of airtime. Oklahoma State just kind of is chilling, hanging out there, ready to keep winning games and be there at the end of the year like they were last year, which it was a pretty quiet, just methodical march for Oklahoma State to the Big 12 title game last year, and almost college football playoff last year. So I feel decent about that. I really do, Nick. I think you have a lot to be excited about if you're an Oklahoma State fan. I understand. I guess the counterpoint to me really there would just be Big 12 as a whole beating each other up, because there probably is going to be a bunch of that this year. But I think Oklahoma State's got the chops to do that potentially, to get through with one loss. I am saying like one of those games not going their way. But if they get through it with one loss, great chance that you're going to be in Arlington playing for another Big 12 championship. Obviously, I do not think it's going to take unbeaten to get through to the Big 12 championship game. What's up, Zach? Zach in here again. Zach says, I'll pay to join in on the Houston bashing. I think they stink, and that Dana needs to be fired before they join the Big 12. Agreed. Well, this year they do not look very good. They do not look very good at all this year. I will agree with you on that. Does Dana need to be fired? Now that is a tough one because again, he had that phenomenal year last year. But I do, to me, and West Virginia fans, I'm sure that are in here could speak to some of this. There does feel to me like a volatility to Holgerson. And at West Virginia, there was a build. They had the really nice team in what was that 2018 with Sills and Greer, that had that incredible play at Texas. That was a really fun, pretty good West Virginia team. But then it was like everything, there was going to be a crater in talent in the program, and Dana Holgerson just up and left. It was because that was Neil Brown was hired in 2019. So, there feels like a volatility to him, and that things really can crash and burn and crash and burn pretty quickly. And that might be where things are headed right now for Houston. So I can understand some concern there. I don't think I would fire him. I mean, we'll see how the rest of this year plays out. There needs to be a sense of urgency, no doubt, in coming to the Big 12. But I think you have to be thinking bigger picture, like overall long-term commitments, facilities, money, NIL, those sorts of things. Dana Holgerson in the future of the football program is obviously a part of that too. But it's tough for me to say after what he did last year, especially after, again, remember, it was a rough start. Now, this has gone on longer than last year's rough start, but it was not smooth sailing out of the or from the get-go for Holgerson last year, and he still put it together and had a really nice season. So I would just put it on my list. It's like on my watch list. I gave you the analogy earlier this year of watch versus warning. It's not in warning territory, but it's like in watch territory. Let's watch what's happening here with Dana Holgerson. Addicted to capping. What's addicted to capping? That's a pretty good name there. And addicted to capping. I'm gonna have to call cap on you right away here because you're asking me is Kansas going to go 8-0? Let me pull up this little schedule here. They've got number 17 TCU, and then they've got at Oklahoma and at Baylor. Do I think Kansas is going to be 8-0 after that? No, I do not. And I'm not. I don't say that as a disrespect. I don't know that there are many Big 12 teams or any Big 12 teams. I mean, I know Oklahoma does not look very good right now. But are many Big 12 teams getting through TCU, Oklahoma, and Baylor with 2 of the 3 on the road, just bam, bam, bam like that, unscathed? I doubt it. And I'm conflicted on what to make exactly of the Kansas performance last week because, or I say last week, on Saturday, yesterday. I think there are 2 things here. On one hand, and I think I tend to lean more toward this side, Kansas won a game where it wasn't just Jalen Daniels and the offense going crazy and winning a shootout. And that's basically what they had shown so far. They showed a different version of themselves where the defense could actually step up and make plays. I mean, helped out by just a dreadful Iowa State offense. I mean, they looked really bad. I'm not saying that's totally hopeless. Like Xavier Hutchinson's a really nice player. But I know they were dealing with a banged up running back there for a portion of that game. Like there are some excuses you can make, but they should have done better than 11 points, even with 3 missed field goals. It was just a brutal watch, an ugly, ugly game to watch. But I also wonder if Iowa State, who does have, I will say I have respect for their defense, and their defense deserves much better. I mean, the entire state of Iowa, both of those defenses just deserve a lot better than what they're getting out of their offenses. I do think their defense is very good, and I wonder if Kansas should be worried a little bit about a blueprint getting out there on how to kind of slow down their offense. But I also just think some of it is like, I think Iowa State's the best team that Kansas has played so far this year. I just think even as much as I'm going to crap on Oklahoma plenty, don't you worry before the show's done. But even still, that's a much better team than what Kansas has been seeing so far. Baylor is a much better team than what Kansas has been seeing so far. TCU, much as I have been wrong on them pretty much every step of the way so far this year, is a much better team than what Kansas has seen so far. So do I think Kansas is going to lose all 3? Probably not, but I think like 1-2 seems pretty likely for me out of that. And I think I said earlier, I dropped in like my calibration, my expectation for Kansas right now would probably be 7 or 8 wins. But man, I mean, it does get real. I mean, Kansas has done a great job of taking advantage of what's in front of them so far. 5-0 against that schedule. Do you deserve to be ranked? Yes. Is it a bit of an overcorrection to like swing it all the way up to 17, even though there were a bunch of teams in front of them that lost? maybe a little bit, but I'm not going to lose a lot of sleep over AP and coaches poll rankings right now because things are going to play themselves out. But I mean, you're talking TCU at Oklahoma, at Baylor, then you got Oklahoma State, then you got at Texas Tech, and I mean, I'm telling you that is not going to be a gimme at all. Then you got Texas at home, then you got at K State. Like that all of those teams are infinitely more talented than anything Kansas has seen so far. K State, well, I would say K State, maybe not, but they have more first team All Big 12 players preseason than anybody else in the league right now. So it's going to be much, much, much tougher. And I'm not sure that I would be throwing a parade about a 3-point win over Iowa State at home in a vacuum. Now, if you're Kansas and it's another win to get to 5-0 and it continues this story and it gets you college game day, then yeah, obviously you celebrate the hell out of it. I'm not saying that we're already at a point with Kansas where you're going to critique how they're winning games, but just in general, if we're talking about them getting to like an 8-0 start. And I'm expanding upon this topic as much as I am because like Kansas deserves the attention. They are the story in the Big 12 this year. I mean, frankly, they're up there in terms of these stories of college football nationally, which is why they're getting college game day. It's typically a reward for being the type of story of the season. And Travis Goff, I think, is a really sharp AD, not only for hiring Leipold, but for leveraging all that he can right now to try and take advantage of this excitement and what's going on now. Helping get these games sold out that they've had at home, lobbying publicly for college game day. They're doing everything that they can right now to take advantage of this, knowing that the back half of the schedule is going to get more difficult. But you take advantage of it right now. I mean, hell, there's, I do a podcast on KC Sports Network. There's a dude running one of the KU pods on the KC Sports Network that tweeted last night when Clemson and Georgia were both in trouble, saying, oh, hey, Clemson and Georgia going down could really hurt Kansas's playoff chances. That's what Travis Goff has these people thinking right now, okay? And that's pretty good work as an AD. That's pretty good work as an AD if that's where you're at right now. So respect them. I think losses are coming, but, I mean, look, they're proving everybody wrong so far at basically every step. I think Leipold's an excellent, excellent coach. And I see a lot of donations coming up here, but I think this is a good jumping off point to get to that coach conversation that I had already mentioned earlier a little bit about the Wisconsin job coming open. So I see Kickface, I see James, I see Robert, I see my man McMuffin, I see Julius. I'm going to get to all of you guys here in just a minute, but I do want to pay off this tease and what this is about with the video. So Wisconsin fired their coach today, Paul Chryst, who that's a story in and of itself. Colorado also fired Carl Dorrell. That's who was at Colorado, right? So we're having coaches fired earlier and earlier, and I think a lot of that is about the December signing period, which might go away and the calendar might change. But for right now, teams are feeling the need to get rid of coaches earlier and earlier. This is very intriguing because Lance Leipold coached at Wisconsin Whitewater from 2007 to 2014. He won 6 national championships from Wisconsin. There were already a lot of rumors about the Nebraska job, and not just rumors, but reporting. Bruce Feldman again reported that Leipold was one of the top 3 candidates there at Nebraska. He was an assistant there from 2001 to 2003. Now, Wisconsin, I don't think the total narrative here as well. They fired Paul Chryst this early because they want to get in on the bidding war for Lance Leipold. Maybe that's a secondary motivation. I think more of it, to me, it screams of 2 things for Wisconsin. One, they're going to want to give Jim Leonard a shot as the interim head coach. He is the defensive coordinator there. Very highly respected, well thought of guy. And he's a Wisconsin native and grad. So like that's a guy that I would think they would want to succeed. And maybe if he's able to really turn around this season for Wisconsin, he'll have a shot. I mean, this is basically an open audition for him. So I think that's that is the largest part of it. They wanted to get him an open audition. The other part about it too with Wisconsin is like, I don't know if you're Lance Leipold, which one would you rather have? Would you rather be at Wisconsin? Would you rather be Nebraska? So I'm not sure that this is like a slam dunk necessarily for Wisconsin. We'll see what happens with Jim Leonard there. But I also think I lost my train of thought there for a minute. I think the other part about this that is why the timing happens now is just wanting to like show to your fans that this is not acceptable. And I've been reading a little bit of the Twitter dialogue about this in Wisconsin. It's very interesting. It doesn't seem like the fans were like overly coming with pitchforks for Chryst, although things have been very frustrating, particularly offensively. But that is another thing in the corner of like, hey, Wisconsin probably would be interested here. Their offense has been dreadful. And if you watch Kansas, I mean, not Saturday, but before that, it's been all about the offense. And they put together a hell of an offense and turned Jalen Daniels, who Les Miles kind of gave up on, into a tremendous quarterback. So I would think that is a very appealing part of Leipold here. Between Nebraska and Wisconsin being open, I mean, I even saw Jesse Newell from the Kansas City Star, who was the KU beat writer until this year when he took the Chiefs beat. He said, hey, I mean, might as well just throw out all the Lance Leipold dream jobs in one offseason to truly test him. So, even those that cover the program, have been covering the program, have those Kansas connections. I mean, the feeling and thought is the same there. It's going to be a threat. Whether or not it comes through, we'll see. Because, I mean, ask Iowa State fans about that. You guys kill me all the time for just simply reading reports of Matt Campbell interest from other jobs, which is, you want to shoot the messenger all the time. But it does happen a lot that he gets mentioned for jobs and he has not taken one yet. Speaking of that, here was the first list that I saw with head coaching candidates at Wisconsin. Top 3, all Big 12 coaches. Dave Aranda, number 1, obviously the head coach of Baylor. Matt Campbell, number 2 from Iowa State. Lance Leipold, number 3 from Kansas. And I can read you the paragraphs here. Dave Aranda, it says head coach at Baylor. This is probably a long shot, but Aranda worked at Wisconsin from 2013 to 15 as the program's defensive coordinator. He also has stints as an assistant at Houston, Hawaii, Utah State, and LSU. Bears went 2-7 in 20, improved to 12-2 with a Big 12 title in 21. I would have a hard time seeing Aranda leaving for that job. It feels to me now, I realize he's got the Wisconsin connections, just like the SEC connections. Feels to me more like a guy that would go SEC if he's going to take a different job. And like Wisconsin's not a total rebuild, but it would be a little bit of one when Baylor's, up and humming pretty well right now. The fit doesn't feel quite as good to me. But if I were Wisconsin, would I try? You know what? I mean, I guess it would depend on how you really weigh internally Leipold versus Aranda. But I think they're both very, very good coaches. And probably worth a shot. Matt Campbell from like a fit, like culture standpoint, that seems a little more like it just embodies what Wisconsin is, right? Like kind of the tough, gritty sort of underdog thing. But Matt Campbell's losing his shine. I mean, I know, like Iowa State fans, this is Farmageddon week 2. K-State playing in Ames this weekend. Not trying to fire guys up too much, but like the shine is really starting to come off of him some with these jobs, and especially with Leipold in the conference doing what he's doing this year. That's also bringing the shine off of Campbell a little bit. Maybe that's what you'd rather have as an Iowa State fan, but I think you'd also rather be winning games. And right now, this looks like a team that is 6-6. I mean, it feels like a 6-60 kind of Iowa State team to me right now, unless they really get some things dramatically figured out on offense, which maybe they will, and maybe it'll happen this week because, hell, you guys know, and you tell me all the time, last couple of years, K-State against Iowa State, that's really been the cure for it. I've still got nightmares of Breece Hall on, what was that, the first play from scrimmage last year. Still got nightmares from that. So, maybe that'll change this week. And then Leipold, it basically just rattles off the same resume I gave you guys there. So, it's like twofold here. Not only do we have a potential bidding war out there for Lance Leipold, and I saw Stuart Mandel already tweeting about, hey, the bidding war is going to be crazy. I saw Bruce Feldman tweet that Nebraska fans should be rooting for Wisconsin the rest of the year because Nebraska fans will want Jim Leonard to get the job at Wisconsin so they can go after Lance Leipold. I mean, like that is the national discourse right now about Leipold and what could potentially happen there. So everybody seems to think it's a foregone conclusion nationally that he's going to be courted by both of those two schools. And when it was just Nebraska, I mean, I can definitely see the case for not taking the Nebraska job if you are Leipold. If it's Nebraska and Wisconsin, like Wisconsin is like a Nebraska, but in a better situation, similar resources, obviously the same conference. You still have ties there. Wouldn't be nearly as bad of a rebuild. I don't know. That would seem to be really appealing to me, much more appealing than Nebraska to me personally there. Expectations probably not like quite as crazy high. You probably just don't have quite as crazy high, like weird vibes with the fan base in terms of being like overzealous about what they should be. So anyway, tons of donations to get to. That's a little update right now on what's going on with the coaching world in the Big 12. Kickface, what's up, Kickface? That's a good name. Kickface, thank you for the donation. Kickface says, as a Houston supporter, who can we hire after we fire Dana Holge? Wow. Okay, so like you guys are done, huh? Is that really like the Houston vibe right now? I mean, I know this season is rough. I know there were high expectations this season, and I've seen it argued out there. Some national guy was calling Houston the most disappointing team in college football this year. But man, I mean, just ready to totally fire him yet? I don't know. Well, let me throw this out there, Kickface. A guy that I saw doing a game this weekend as a broadcaster is a gentleman by the name of Tom Herman. Gentleman by the name of Tom Herman did pretty damn well at Houston once upon a time. And I've been waiting for him to get another job. It hasn't happened yet. So I don't know, man. I mean, that seems like a good name to me. I would float that one out there to you. I don't know how Houston fans would feel about that. I don't know if there was bad blood when he left for Texas. But that to me would seem like a nice little pairing there. James, thank you for the donation, James. James says, having seen every game, Houston needs a new direction. With moving to the Big 12, they should be able to find someone who wants more than a place to retire. Okay. I mean, it really seems like what I'm getting feedback from you guys is that Houston fans are pretty fed up with Dana Holgorsen here. Look, I get it. Again, I've said there's a volatility to him. This year is a massive disappointment. Maybe this is all turning everybody into and looking at like last year. Last year was the flash in the pan. Last year was the outlier. Let's get out what we still can. And hey, if Tom Herman is out there and like that would be a legitimate mutual interest situation, yeah, kick Dana to the curb. I probably would. In that scenario, if you're going to tell me that that's out there and ready and waiting for him, I can understand that. I certainly can. Robert, what's up, Robert? Robert, thank you for the donation. Robert says, Tech lost to K-State, but congrats. Lost to Tulane doesn't look so bad after the Houston game, but the OU win doesn't look so good after the TCU game. Wreck 'em. Shout out to the Cactus Mafia. I appreciate you guys. It was a fun battle. I legitimately, as you saw by my tweet early in the third quarter, I mean, I thought K-State was losing that game early in the second half. I did not feel confident at all. Texas Tech's defense made the K-State offense for about the middle half of that game look exactly like it did against Tulane, which was totally lifeless. So I thought it was done. I thought you guys were going to come in and get the win. K-State finally got the quarterback run game working again, or actually just decided to use it. And that to me was the difference in the game. But heck of an effort. Tech defense has come a long way. Much tougher team. Tech's going to win some games the rest of the year, no doubt. I think Joey just needs to get his dudes in there. I mean, I see a lot of improvement just in terms of the culture, the attitude, how they play, how they're coached on defense, but just need some dudes. I think Tech needs to upgrade the dudes a little bit. And they have a top 25 recruiting class coming in next year. So I know it's like the thing fans don't want to hear or deal with or whatever, but it may just take a little bit of time. It'll require a little bit of patience to get where you truly want to go. But very feisty Texas Tech team. And I mean, by the way, I come out of there with still concerns about the consistency of K-State's offense and how that's going to work out the rest of the year. I definitely do. McMuffin, I am sorry, my friend. First of all, thank you for the support. Thank you for the donation to the channel. But McMuffin is a Baylor fan. He says, I'm sad. Sick 'em. Yeah, that was tough. Wildly entertaining game there, especially in that third quarter. It could not have been more polarizing on my two TV screens between one screen Baylor, Oklahoma State, one screen Kansas, Iowa State. And in that third quarter, I mean, it was like, my eyes are bleeding when I flip it over here to Iowa State and Kansas. And then I flip it to Baylor, Oklahoma State. It's like there's a huge, massive play happening. There's either a kick return touchdown or a 70-yard bomb from Blake Shapen happening on every single play. So it was total opposite, but made for a really entertaining afternoon. I did very much enjoy that, having two super competitive, like really good Big 12 games going back and forth. McMuffin, I think Baylor's still going to have a nice year this year. It's reasonable to expect a drop off after last year and everything that you lost. I am a little bit wrong on Baylor. I was higher on Baylor than what they have proven to be so far this year. But I think it may have been Stats of War that I saw tweet this weekend. Parker, big TCU fan, who's great with the analytics and a great follow for college football Twitter if you're interested. But I think it was him, and maybe if I'm crediting the wrong person, I apologize. But it was somebody that said, Baylor looks like a team that has a lot of really talented young guys that just need to kind of develop and grow into their roles and where they're at. And I totally agree with that. I think it's clear Baylor is not lacking for, a ton of talent. The program's still in very good shape, but they lost a lot from last year and just haven't quite been able to pick up at that level. That was a hell of a season last year. I mean, Baylor played really well. So I think understanding some of the losses that they had on the defensive side of the ball, like they're in an okay spot. They're in an okay spot. What's up, Julius? Thank you, Julius, for the donation. Incredibly generous as always. I sincerely appreciate it when you pop in here. Thank you so much for the support and helping me bring you Big 12 content all the time. You guys give Julius some love too, man, for sure. Julius says, "Howdy, John. After watching the Big 12 over the weekend, I'm convinced that BYU can win the conference championship or just win one game. This league is stacked." Yeah, it's pretty damn deep, man. It is pretty damn deep. I think BYU would do better than winning one game, by the way. I feel very confident in saying that, Julius. I don't think you need to worry about that. But it is. And by the way, I checked out a little bit of BYU football, the Utah State game. I know it wasn't that was not exactly a Mona Lisa necessarily from BYU, but they did get the win. Yeah, I mean, look, BYU. I don't doubt BYU is going to be able to come in and compete. They'll be able to come in and compete for sure. But this league, we don't have the problem is when it's not Oklahoma or Texas, which I mean, look, it's never Texas. We've been having that conversation for 15 damn years now. If Oklahoma is not winning and winning at the top of the league, no one's ever going to view this league like, oh, they have a big force at the top of the league. They have a great. I mean, I guess like TCU Baylor back in the 13-14 run, they did get a decent amount of respect. But at the end of the day, when they needed it from the playoff committee, they didn't get it. So you get the point. If there's not one of those teams up top, the Big 12 is not going to be viewed as like a legitimate national championship contending conference. But I do think, and it feels like people are coming around to just how deep this league is with good teams and how much of a gauntlet it's going to be, and actually getting some positive spin and some positive shine on it, as evidenced by the fact that game day is going to Kansas this week. I mean, I know A&M's 3-2, but we have Jimbo v. Saban after the war of words that those two had this offseason. We have Texas, Oklahoma, and Kansas TCU is what gets college game day. They're going to put some spotlight on the Big 12 with that. Much as I will have to grin and bear it a little bit on that front, it's going to be a really nice showcase for the Big 12 to have that for both schools. Because TCU is a really nice story too. I mean, just crushing Oklahoma. Max Duggan taking over for Chandler Morris this year and just playing out of his mind. He's got almost 1,000 yards passing. It was like, 75? I think he's completing. I had the number jotted down here. I know it's 11 TDs, no picks. Yeah, 75% of his passes, 11 TDs, no picks. Guy that can run a little bit too. I feel really good for Max Duggan, and there's not anybody in this league that I've been more wrong about this year than Duggan. Because Duggan is playing like a stud, and I had just kind of written him off. And I think that is a testament to being with a new coach, like rejuvenated with Sonny Dykes, a better offensive mind than what Gary Patterson was. And again, Patterson, I just felt like had kind of run its course. So I think Sonny Dykes, another guy that it appears I was a little bit wrong about. I mean, the early returns anyway, because I just was not overly inspired by that hire. But he's injected some life into Max Duggan in that offense for sure. But yeah, that is going to get the Big 12 some extra attention. And you just look up and down. I mean, Texas and Oklahoma are both playing with 2 losses already this year. A combined 3 Big 12 losses by the time they even get to Red River speaks to the depth of talent in this league. Maybe Oklahoma State is going to run away with this thing, but that to me feels like the only school that would have a legitimate shot to, like, by mid-November be sitting up there near the top 5 of the college football playoff rankings and people being like, this is a great team. Again, no offense to TCU. They deserve to be in the conversation for now. I think Oklahoma State is the one team I could foresee making some sort of run like that. And I guess as much as it pains me to say it, like, I don't know, Hudson Card in Texas did look pretty good Saturday, but Quinn Ewers may well be back. It sounds like that was the target date that they were really looking at, was for Oklahoma this weekend. If Ewers comes back, I mean, Texas does still have the talent if they're going to put it all together. It's just how many of us trust them to actually put it all together. Long story short, it is a pretty loaded league. Adrian Martinez has been playing at an elite level the last couple of weeks for K-State. And if he's doing that, K-State can contend for a Big 12 championship as well. And then Kansas is there with game day 5-0. I mean, the one thing that feels maybe not totally certain, but likely right now is it feels likely that West Virginia is going to finish last. And by the way, thoughts go out to CJ Donaldson, who is a tremendous player, really fun to watch, but had that rough like head/neck injury during that game. It sounds like he was able to fly back and things seem to be headed in the right direction, but hated to see that. Not just the loss for West Virginia, but then, to see a guy suffering like that is not good either. Does feel like West Virginia is likely the last place team in this league, but that's still a team that went on the road and kicked the crap out of Virginia Tech not that long ago. So we shall see. But astute observation, Julius. Shout out to your Cougs for getting a win this weekend, and appreciate you being here and supporting the channel. Provo Cougar fan. What's up, Provo Cougar fan? Says if BYU goes 5-4 next year or better in the Big 12 conference, it will be a good first year. I might set the bar at like 6-3 for BYU if you're talking about it being a good year. I'm not saying 5-4 would be bad, and there is going to be probably an adjustment period. Although I don't know, man. Looking at BYU schedule this year, I'm not sure that it's that different really from a Big 12 schedule. Oregon, Arkansas, Notre Dame. What am I missing? I know I'm missing Baylor, Oregon, Arkansas, Notre Dame, Baylor. That's a pretty good schedule BYU's put together already this season. So I don't think it's going to be like that. Will not be as rough of an adjustment as it will be for, say, Houston, right? Provo Cougar fan that we were talking about earlier. So I would set it at 6-3 would be my barometer. Like if it's 6-3 or above, that's pretty damn good. You got to be really happy with that. If it's anything less, then yeah, maybe we can start to talk about that being a little more of a disappointment. But I would say set the bar a little bit higher if I were you, Provo Cougar fan. I've got enough respect for BYU to say that. What's up, Bob? Provo Cougar fan, I should say that too. I say that without knowledge of what the losses are going to be this year to BYU's roster. Now, if you're talking about like major roster turnover, that could obviously change the equation. Bob, what's up, Bob? Bob says the movie this week at the Oklahoma Athletic Dorm, The Color Purple. Yes. I don't think Oklahoma wants to see purple anytime soon. I don't know. Do Oklahoma fans, you guys want to see Brent Venables anytime soon? I mean, where are all the Oklahoma fans who were just screaming at me and anybody that dared to suggest that they would not be 15-0 unbeaten national champions this year under Brent Venables because the only problem they ever had was defense, and they finally got the brightest defensive mind in the country, the brightest defensive mind the world has ever seen. The 85 Bears have nothing on what Brent Venables put together throughout his career at Clemson. Multiple defenses, better than the 85 Bears. He's going to come in and just rock it. Program guy. He is ready to go. Sooners. Woo! Boomer Sooner. Let's go, baby. Going to just rip through this shoddy Big 12 on the way to the SEC. And wait, what's that? 669 yards allowed to TCU? You gave up 669 yards to a Max Duggan-led offense the week after giving up 40-plus to K-State, who had lost to Tulane the week before by scoring 10. I thought this guy knew defense. Oklahoma fans, I thought the whole point of this was to hire a defensive coach. Now, Dylan Gabriel, I understand, got knocked out of the game, and I do feel for him. That was absolutely a dirty hit. But Oklahoma fans, did you watch Caleb Williams play last night? Did you watch him throw for 349? What was it, 349? 348, excuse me. 348 and 4 TDs for Caleb Williams, who looks awesome. He looks much better than Dylan Gabriel, who's a fine quarterback, but he's not Caleb Williams. And Brent Venables does not appear to be Lincoln Riley with the early returns here so far. There seems to be an adjustment period here. I mean, good Lord, I went back and someone dug it up for me on Twitter. Shout out to, I think it was Leon who did that on Twitter for me. The guy, we had 2 tweets from Oklahoma City TV guys in the spring that were just like the camera focused in on Brent Venables, like working with linebackers and working with the defense, and shade being thrown at Lincoln Riley, like, oh man, look, we finally have a coach who's going to coach some defense. I mean, just the ridiculousness of all of that. Simply walking over to a couple guys on the defensive side of the ball being enough for that, first and foremost. But second of all, how's that looking now? By the way, here was one of the exact tweets. It's Lee Benson from Oklahoma City. Said, I'll have to check our archives, but I don't recall a video of the last head guy putting this kind of effort into personally teaching the linebackers SMH. Yeah, he might want to teach a little more. Bud. How's that working out for you? How's that looking? How's that defense looking in Norman right now? Not very good. If only If only a moderately successful Big 12 YouTuber could have tried to warn Sooner Nation and Oklahoma fans that this might happen. If only somebody would have tried. If only a writer from The Athletic would have given them a warning shot by leaving Oklahoma out of the top 25 this offseason. That was Stuart Mandel, who I know is a polarizing figure around here. But Stewart's looking pretty right on that, leaving Oklahoma out of the top 25. And man, did he get blasted for like a solid week on Twitter from Oklahoma fans over that. So much shade, so much snark, and yet here the Sooners sit, headed into their showdown with Texas, unranked, just like Texas, unranked, out of the top 25, no fanfare. Instead, the spotlight is in Lawrence freaking Kansas. Oklahoma fans, I am here for the apology whenever you want to give it to me. Whenever you want to give it to me. Not only is this happening to you, but it's happening to you in part because of my Kansas State Wildcats, who took it to you in Norman last week. So it's at J.O. Kurtz on Twitter. The DMs are open. The comments are here. If you'd like to donate, Oklahoma fans, you can click the $ below the chat box where it says say something. And that's a great way to apologize to me. You can put your money where your mouth is and attach some hard-earned dollars to your apology to me and Stuart Mandel, frankly. I hope you're in his DMs too, apologizing profusely right now for having the gall to come after us so aggressively, for merely suggesting the program may take a bit of a step back this year, and now you have 2 losses by the beginning of October. I say this all the time, and I mean it sincerely. It is extremely heartfelt. Congratulations, Oklahoma. Congratulations on eating a lot of crow. And your program guy, you've got your program guy, Oklahoma fans. This guy really loves you and cares about you. And doesn't it feel great? Thank you, Sooners. Zach, what's up, Zach? Zach says, in BYU's last game, one of their players got personalized for throwing a shoe. A similar incident happened before the Cougars. For the Cougars. What's up with these wacky Mormons and their propensity to toss footwear? I had not seen that. Was it the BYU game? I thought there was another game this weekend where someone threw a shoe. Was that really BYU? I guess that must have been BYU. I did see somebody throw a shoe this weekend because the comparisons all came back up to the Florida kid. Was that 2020 or 2021? I feel like that was maybe 2020. Threw a shoe and then lost the LSU game because of it. Or was it the other way around? LSU did that to Florida. I digress. Either way. I don't know. Zach, you'll have to. I wish I could give you a better answer. You're gonna have to ask the Cougar fans in the chat here what's going on with that. I do not know, especially after now that we've seen it a couple of times and it did cost somebody a game. You would think that probably would not happen much more. But I can't speak to much of this at all. You guys are gonna have to handle this in the chat yourselves, respectfully, of course, please, if you would. But I did not. I saw on Twitter somebody throw a shoe very quickly. I thought in my head, the Austin Powers quote, who throws a shoe, honestly? That rolled through my head, and then that was about it. So I am not aware. I don't know if that is a BYU-centric thing. I am not totally sure about that. I'm sorry I don't have more of an answer for you, Zach, but I hope you guys get it all sorted out. Aglist, what's up, Aglist? Aglist, appreciate the donation. Thank you, my friend. Always love the support from you, and I appreciate it a lot. He says, John, here's hoping that Leipold has a bit of Bill Snyder in him and wants to stay and build. See you in Manhattan for the Big 12 title game. Rock Chalk, Jayhawk, Allen. I do think there's a chance. And you're right. Like, I fully understand the situation. I am very self-aware of the fact that K-State had a coach who was courted by a lot of places, UCLA, Minnesota. Those are the 2 stories you hear about a lot, like early on in his career. In his biography, he also said that, I believe it was the Jacksonville Jaguars, an NFL team that came after him pretty hard, and Snyder made it pretty clear early on he wanted to stay, didn't want to leave. I think he was a rare breed then, but a guy like that is even more of a rare breed in a way now. I say that we are sort of reverting back to like seeing Matt Campbell, Luke Fickell, like guys like that stick around at their schools longer because they can get paid pretty close to equally, not have to deal with some of the stresses and pressures. But I think like loyalty for loyalty's sake is still a fairly rare thing out there. And Bill Snyder certainly was that. And K-State is wildly fortunate that was the case and it worked out like that. I mean, the case I would say for Leipold is a part of it that's working in your favor if you're Kansas is just his age. This is not a young guy. He's what, 58? I think it's 58, just shy of 60. And so you're not going to want to take on, you're not going to want to go job hopping a whole bunch after that. This could be a guy that says, man, like I've grinded my whole life. I'm here. I'm in a Power 5 conference. I've already got game day coming. Like I'm making massive strides in year 2. I don't want to up in this and have to go do it again, especially if it's Nebraska. I mean, that's the one that Wisconsin changes some of the dynamics here if they're really going to be interested, if they're not just going to go with Jim Leonard, because Nebraska is like, it's going to be a rebuild. There is a lot of stress, a lot of pressure, people who have been through a ton of losing. The patience will probably not be that high. I can see how that would be very stressful. And you'd say, look, Kansas is going to pay me a lot of money. Maybe I get like 70, 75% of what I would make at a Nebraska or something, but I'm going to have way more job security and just less extra pressure and BS that I would have to deal with at one of those places. And I don't want that here at this point in my life. So there's a case there for sure. There's a case there for sure, but it's going to get put to the test. I think that's what we know now. Like the loyalty part of that, what he really wants is going to get put to the test very early, because Kansas fans who are loving this up right now and again, tweeting things about Clemson and Georgia and playoff chances and how that affects Kansas right now at 5-0. And I roll my eyes hard, but that success and having the success to that point where people send out delusional tweets like that at this point, that success is coming. And when it comes, you got to deal with stuff like this, almost too hot, too fast here in a way. And it will be put to the test this offseason, I think, because there will be, and we don't even know what other jobs are going to come open. I mean, remember how damn crazy the last head coaching cycle was. We don't even know what else might come open, but those are two pretty high level tests for Leipold, being that he has connections and has worked in each of those states or in one case at the program before. What's up, Joe? Joe, my man, you've been saying this for a while. First of all, thank you for the support. Thank you for your donation. Joe says Oklahoma State versus K-State in Dallas. Well, that's still tracking right now. Both teams 2-0 in Big 12 play. Both teams with nice wins this weekend. K-State, big road win at Oklahoma. Oklahoma State, big road win at Baylor. So similar resumes to this point in the year. I mean, K-State has a bad loss. Oklahoma State does not have that. But in terms of Big 12 play, similar resumes between the two schools. And like I said, I think Oklahoma State is definitely the favorite until proven otherwise. And K-State is in a group of contenders: K-State, TCU, K-State, TCU, Kansas. Who am I missing? I mean, Baylor's just one conference loss. They still belong in the conversation for sure. I mean, really, it's about everybody except for West Virginia. And then I don't know, are we going to throw Oklahoma out? If Oklahoma loses this weekend to Texas, then I mean, they're going to be done. And right now, Texas certainly last week did look like the better team. But yeah, I would love nothing more than that. I think that would be a really fun matchup for me personally. I would have no real animosity towards Oklahoma State other than just wanting to go see K-State win a Big 12 championship there. So I'm with it, Joe. I'm with it. You're sounding smarter and smarter. You're sounding smarter and smarter by the day, my friend. Smarter and smarter by the day. And I hope that continues into this weekend. What's up? Maples? Is that Maples Cyclone? MPLS Cyclone? Maples Cyclone, perhaps? Says, hey, John, Iowa State's new to-do list for 2022. Beat Iowa, check. And number 2, make Lance Leipold look better to Trev Alberts and company, check. I see what you did there. So that'd be an Iowa State fan saying, look, Campbell lost the game, make Leipold look better, make his star burn bright, and get him taken somewhere else so that Matt Campbell doesn't take the Nebraska job. You're talking mostly about Nebraska, but also, again, as I mentioned, Wisconsin, that first list I pulled up there, it had both Leipold and Campbell listed as candidates at Wisconsin too. So maybe it's a part of that job also. I would just say this, MPLS Cyclone, it may be a good year for it to be kind of a rebuilding year in Ames, because like I said, last year, I do think diminished some of the star for Campbell because he had such high expectations, so much talent on that team, and still went 7-6. And now this year, you're dealing with those personnel losses. And if it's, say, 6-6 or even 5-7, but I don't know, I would still have faith that Iowa State finds its way to a bowl game. I think the defense is good enough too. That may actually help cool things down, and you can, kind of just look at the other schools right now that have a lot of things going for them and be like, all right, well, everybody will pass on Campbell. We'll keep our dude. So, yeah, I see what you did there. That's very cheeky, very clever. I can certainly appreciate that. James, what's up, James? James, Houston fan. All right, James, I appreciate this. I appreciate the Houston fan getting back in here with me. James says, I would totally take Tom Herman back. I get why UT's siren song blinded him. Houston has not looked well coached. Too many penalties. Defense that fails when the money is on the line. Uninspired offense. Yeah, and there was also, I mean, the concerning thing with Houston, and I forgot about this when I was talking about it earlier, and this bears repeating and mention. You had the two guys fighting each other on the sideline in the Kansas game, and then Dana, as the fans were like booing and frustrated with him late in that game, I think it was as it was headed to overtime, he's like complaining at the crowd, like going at the crowd. And that's just not, I mean, I understand if you're frustrated, Dana, but you can't be doing that. So, yeah, if it's a team that does not look well coached, and then you've got the coach on the sideline, like getting upset and yelling at the fans, and you've got players fighting with each other, it does have the feel of a mess right now at Houston. It does have the feel of a bit of a mess this season. So I get it. And I'm glad to hear you say that about Tom Herman, because that seems pretty sensical to me from the outside, but I am obviously not on the inside there. So, I mean, look, I would love to see it in terms of like what would make for an intriguing storyline and early part of Big 12 play. If Tom Herman were the head coach at Houston, I'd be very interested in that. Matthew says, wonder what happens if Tyler isn't hurt. All right, Matthew, I'm going to admit some ignorance here. I'm not sure. Let me see. Let me just search Texas Tech, Tyler. Oh, Tyler Shuck, of course, Tyler Shuck. I saw that and I was trying to think like who got hurt in the game in Manhattan and what we're talking about. Tyler Shuck. Okay. So Matthew is saying, what happens if Tyler Shuck was not hurt and was playing quarterback instead of Donovan Smith for Texas Tech? Yeah, it would be interesting. Because, I mean, my thought was that he was the better quarterback than Donovan Smith. Has had his moments and made some nice plays, but he did definitely struggle. I think really, Matthew, the turning, I know you're talking about more big picture. The turning point in the game on Saturday was just K-State getting pressure. That offensive line didn't hold up. K-State had 6 sacks in the game. Now, really good defensive line. Felix Anudike-Uzama and Khalid Duke are 2 really good pass rushers. So they're going to get after people. But, yeah, the offensive line to me was what really undid Texas Tech. So, yes, I think it would definitely help to have Tyler Shuck out there. He's also been kind of made of glass throughout his career, and the offensive line doesn't seem very good, though. So maybe just looking at it like the odds of him staying healthy this year just were not very good. What's up, Nick? Nick, thank you for the donation. Very generous, my friend. I appreciate it. Nick says, interesting that Lincoln Riley's bro is the OC for TCU. Do you think any info was exchanged between the two? Also, I may donate $20 every time because the color is orange. Yeah, it's that bad. Orange power. Hey, I'm down for that, Nick. I mean, that seems like a brilliant strategy to me, and I'm here for it. So I appreciate you, my friend. Loving the orange. Loving seeing that orange in there. Nick, I wanted to mention earlier, I meant to mention, I had it jotted down in my notes today, like, oh, by the way, Oklahoma's just getting it run up on them by Lincoln Riley's brother, who is the offensive coordinator at TCU. Now, I wonder with an offensive mind like Sonny Dykes at head coach, how much he is actually doing. But you bring up a wildly fascinating point, which is, is Garrett Riley talking to Lincoln and getting like specific intel that you otherwise would not be able to get? Wouldn't put it past people. I mean, what is the story that we just saw about Arizona State, right? Herm gets fired, and there were reports coming out that assistants or staffers, maybe is the more appropriate way to say it, like staffers at Arizona State were feeding information to people hoping to get Herm fired. So, yeah, I mean, it seems like people get down and dirty, and stuff like that does happen. So, very well could be the case. It certainly wouldn't hurt because you know what? After the way Oklahoma fans treated Lincoln on his way out the door, do you think Lincoln's taken that phone call from his brother? Like, oh, by the way, we've got OU this week. Hey, big bro, you want to share some secrets here? Or do you just care too much about all the love and support, the endless love and support that you got from Oklahoma fans, and you don't want to hurt them? You don't want to be unfair to them because they've been perfectly fair to you the entire time and what it is that you did as the head coach at Oklahoma. They've been totally fair. So you should be on the up and up here. No, they treated him like garbage. They ran him down. They created all these narratives about how the program was just going to hell in a handbasket. And I would not blame Lincoln Riley for a second if he provided some of that. So that is a very interesting theory, Nick. And I appreciate you making me think about it like that because I had not totally thought about it like that. I love that. I'm a narrative guy. I'm here for the stories. And I am very much here for that as a potential potential reason for why Oklahoma got blasted the way they did by TCU. Justin, thank you, Justin. Appreciate you, my man. Justin says Houston beat all the bottom tier AAC teams last year, including my Bulls, while avoiding UCF and Cincinnati in the regular season. Dana is a fraud. They see competition and they fold like lawn chairs. All right, this is good context. This is good context. Justin, thank you, man. USF fan. Well, I know you've been in here before, and I still feel for you in that Florida game, man. I watched a lot of the fourth quarter of that Florida game. That one still pains me. I wanted that one for you bad. But okay, makes sense. Avoided Cincinnati, avoided UCF last year in the regular season. You guys are building a compelling case here for what I think. You guys may have me firing Dana Holgorsen by the end of this. I mean, I started kind of in this place like, hey, give him some time. He had that great year last year. You guys are reminding me of all these things, reminding/enlightening me on a lot of things here. And that does not seem like a great combination. I'll say this too. Houston does not seem like a place that's in the mood to mess around right now. So it wouldn't shock me at all if he did get fired from that standpoint. Houston, with the money they're pumping in, knowing that they're moving to the Big 12, and just in general, doesn't seem like a place that's going to sit on their hands and knees. So, yeah, okay. It's a great point. Very valid. Very, very valid. Robbie says Big 12 refs, thumbs down. Yeah, the bad Big 12 reffing, I guess I would say, that I saw this weekend was actually Texas Tech getting kind of screwed. Now, it was a 3-possession game still late. Or wait, do I have that right? Or a 2-possession game late, and there wasn't much time left. Tech was still going to have to get another onside kick. They had recovered one onside kick. They were still going to have to get another, but after it was a 3-score game, they get an onside kick. They've got K-State kind of on the ropes with like 2 minutes left, with K-State up by 9, I think it was, and they're driving, and there was like an inadvertent whistle on an interception. And I mean, just clear as day, you could hear the inadvertent whistle. The play should be blown dead. It shouldn't count. Instead, somehow it turned into a review about whether or not the ball was actually intercepted, which it very clearly was, in case they got the ball. I would have been livid if I were Texas Tech fans. I mean, the chances of winning the game for Tech at that point are still very low, but all the momentum was with Tech, and K-State was kind of back on its heels after having an onside kick dropped and given right back to Tech. So, yeah, I would be furious. I would be absolutely furious. I feel for you guys on that one for sure. Boy, my computer is about to die here. Let me turn down the brightness a little bit and try and get through the rest of these donations before we get out. Bud, what's up, Bud? Bud says, kudos to K-State. About 10:45 Saturday morning, I walked into the bar in Lubbock to watch the Tech K-State game. The first thing I saw was Mr. John Kurtz, heavy on the mister, on TV. K-State has 3 stars, Martinez, Vaughn, and Kurtz. Lubbock Guest House. Well, thank you, Bud. Appreciate that. If you're going to Lubbock, you're going to check out Texas Tech games the rest of the year. You guys know where to stay. Hit up Lubbock Guest House, lubbockguesthouse.com. My guy, Bud, extremely generous, extremely kind of you, Bud. I appreciate you as always. And much respect, much love to the Red Raiders. I was having a conversation. I was in Manhattan for that CrossFit competition I did earlier today. I was having a conversation with somebody at the bar there about they had gone to the game and said they interacted with a lot of Texas Tech fans. And they were like, man, like I had never really met many Tech fans, didn't know much about them before, but they were extremely pleasant, very friendly, and very much enjoyed hanging out with them at the game. So I heard rave reviews about Tech and the fans that came to Manhattan as well. So I know you guys may get sick of the Tech K-State Love Fest thing, but I'll keep it going. Because everything I heard was good on that front this weekend. So appreciate you, Bud. I do not belong, by the way, in the same sentence of star as Adrian Martinez or Deuce Vaughn, but I will take the compliment. My friend. Thank you. Thank you very much. Shout out to my guy, Bud, man, as always. Ben with a good question here. Ben, what's the word on Eli Huggins? Really good nose tackle. That's the guy Joey McGuire said kept him up at night most when asked about prepping for K-State. I actually don't know. It looked to me like, and I did hear someone kind of confirm this, that it sounds like concussion potentially for Eli Huggins. So that could put him in jeopardy, obviously, for this weekend. And that's a pretty hot topic in the football world these days. But I don't have anything really concrete for you there on that. I just believe it to be, my perception was watching the game and from what they showed and said on TV, it was likely going to be like concussion protocol. And then I did have someone say that in a group text that was what they had been hearing, but I'm not super confident in that. So don't take that to the bank for sure. But that's kind of the feeling that I have right there. David, what's up, David? Thank you for the donation, David. David says, I'm coming down from Minneapolis for the K-State game. I'll yell Kurtz. My name isn't David if I see you. Fair enough. Fair enough. The uprights in Lawrence are evil. Sad day. Boy, yeah, that poor kicker, man. Not only did he miss 3 field goals, and the last one was really bad, but 2 of them, it was the same upright, right? I believe it was the same upright that he hit, or maybe it was on different ends of the field, but a couple of them doinking the upright, not getting any friendly bounce. That was a road rim for sure. That was a road rim, man. No kind, friendly bounces at all. I may be at the game, David, not David. I may be at the game. I am deciding / conversing with my buddy Cole, who does the 3 Mob podcast with me, about whether or not we're going to make the trip to Ames. Very high risk, high reward, because at a road loss at night, and then, I mean, Ames hotels are ridiculous. So either driving a couple hours to a hotel, I don't know, just having to do the drive back like 5 hours after a road loss. It is very risky. And I've done a lot of part of the deal with me is like I had to drive all these places for 10 years in the league to travel and work. So I've just done all these road trips and done all the traveling and kind of wanted to step back from some of that. So it's like I'm fighting. I got 2 parts of me here. I want to be there. I love being there live in game for that sort of an atmosphere in a game like that. But I've also just got a lot of road miles, and I've been there, done that a lot of times before, and kind of enjoy stepping back from that a little bit too. So we'll see. We'll see. I'm sure I will let you guys know if I do wind up going to the game, but it's kind of my feeling on it right now. I'm a little bit conflicted, kind of 50-50 on that whole deal. All right, let me get through the rest of these here. Where was the one I just lost? Robert talking about Paul Christ at Wisconsin. Thank you for the donation, Robert. Robert said Chris went to the Cotton Bowl in 16, the Orange Bowl in 17, the Rose Bowl in 19, and gets fired. Wisconsin thinks they're Ohio State. Chris to Nebraska. I don't think Chris to Nebraska. I don't think they could withstand the PR of that, hiring just a recently fired head coach. But it is a fair point about the resume of Paul Chris. Yeah, it's bailing pretty quick. It's bailing pretty quick. I think it's in large part about how their offense looks and just how bad it has been, and that they feel like they must feel like there's no turning back on that. Like the offense is just going to be flawed, and it's not just about the quarterback or whatever. But I think it's a totally fair point to make and say that seems to be a little quick on the trigger for Wisconsin. But Wisconsin they've been pretty damn solid. I think some of it too is like this year, it's just such a winnable. The Big Ten West is just so bad that, it's got to be frustrating to sit there and think like we're not actually getting out of this. What the hell? All right, I got to move quick here, guys. My computer is seriously about to die. So Calico Willie, are we sold that Leipold actually leaves? No, I think as I've kind of addressed throughout the chat here, like it's going to get tested. It will be tested immensely. But is there a path where Leipold doesn't want to go to Nebraska and take on the stress of that job, and Wisconsin goes ahead and hires internally with the interim? Yes, that is possible. Because of his age, I think he could want to just stick it out at Kansas and be in a pretty sweet situation there. So yeah, I'm not convinced that he leaves. No. Now, does that mean I'm going to, not try and ruffle a few feathers on Twitter here or there? Listen, you guys know what I do. So I'm going to have some fun with it. Kansas fans getting a little too mouthy for my liking right now with this 5-0 record. I gotta fire some shots back. Okay. But no, I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that he would leave. Matt says can't root for KU. They are not bought into the Big 12. Yeah, that's been a deal for a while. I think they're a little more bought into it now than they were before, but certainly that has not been the case overall. StatCat 19, Oklahoma State disrespected in the rankings. Yeah, it seems like that's fairly true of every year. I would just say on that front, don't stress too much about it. It'll take care of itself. If Oklahoma State continues to win, they'll be okay. And remember last year, I felt like that some last year, and still, if they get 6 more inches on that last play of the Big 12 championship game, they're likely going to be in the playoff. So I think it'll just take care of itself. That's why I'm not really sweating like where K-State's at right now in the rankings, where Kansas is at. There's a lot of discussion about that. That's why those rankings exist, is just for the argument and discussion's sake. I don't, there's some significance to it. I get that's a whole other discussion we don't have time for today, but I'm not too stressed about it. I wouldn't stress too much about it. Okay. I see this. Minneapolis Cyclone. What the hell? I don't know. That's a lot of expletive there. MPLS equals Minneapolis, not Maples. P.S. We're only 2 twisted ankles away from a Purdy, San Fran, and Skylar Thompson Dolphins matchup. Long live Brocktober. Well, I would be here for that. Not the injuries. I don't want to see anybody get hurt, but I would be here for Brock Purdy versus Skylar Thompson in the NFL. That'd be great. Sorry, look, I have no idea. I've never seen Minneapolis abbreviated like that. But I don't have much. I don't run into Minneapolis very much here. Grew up in Kansas City. Lived in Manhattan for 10 years. Now I'm back in Kansas City. I just don't come across Minneapolis that much. So my apologies. I have not seen Minneapolis abbreviated like that. But yes, Brock Purdy versus Skylar Thompson would be very entertaining with a couple of franchises that are having some rough injury luck with their quarterbacks right now. I'm here for it. We need another battle there. Skylar Thompson needs to pick up another dub there because it did not go well against Brock Purdy the last 2 times he played him. I'll give you that, Iowa State, heading into Farmageddon week. And with that, I bid you adieu. Excuse me. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out tonight in the chat. Extremely generous. Appreciate all of you guys that were here. Tell your friends about it. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, wherever it is that you have Big 12 fan friends, fans of your school that you think would enjoy the channel. Continue to tell them about it. Let's make this a bigger and better channel each and every day. We're coming very close to 15,000 subscriptions. I appreciate that. John-Kurtz-4 on Venmo if you'd like to support the channel that way as well. And I am going to go. Nobody tell me what's going on with the Chiefs. I have no idea. I'm going to go pick it up on my TV. We'll see what's happening. Hopefully it's good. Last week was brutal. I'm going to enjoy the rest of my Sunday night with Kansas City Chiefs. I will talk to you guys later.